A warm welcome to the panel session. Why data is an engineer's secret weapon. We are joined by some of our New Relic's great customers today. Uh, Please welcome Piyush from Capillary Technologies, Sharmila from Open Financial, and Gopal from Junglee Games. Piyush, Sharmila, please be seated. If the last 2 years of pandemic disruption have taught us anything, it's that we have a significant reliance on technology today. This has also impacted broader business decisions and caused developers to, take an inch and be more connected to impact business outcomes. So why is data an engineer's secret weapon? Let's discuss. My first question to everyone in the panel would be if you can probably spend a minute talking about your role and also talking about the organization for the benefit of all. And then what's the most interesting part of your role? That will be awesome.
So I am Piyush Kumar. I work with Capillary Technologies as a chief architect. Capillary is a multi-tenanted SaaS provider for B2B. It's a B2B product. Uh, we have a product in the customer engagement and loyalty space. To make it simple to understand, on the Tata Neu app, the new coins is backed by Capillary loyalty. So there are multiple such customers across the globe that use Capillary's products to build customer engagement and loyalty for them. Uh, the interesting thing about my role is is that over the last year, 2 years, developers keep coming with a lot of innovative ways of using certain tools, certain newer things that they want to adopt and go ahead and use in the product. The most challenging thing for me there is to say no to those if I do not see an ROI in them. Disheartening because I have come through that journey of trying to pick up and use something and then going back and say no, this is not something that we should do. It doesn't seem to have an ROI. Is very baffling for me.
Thank you so much. Sharmila, the same question for you. If you can, couple of minutes about Open Financial, your role and the most exciting part.
Sure. Thanks, Vidhur. I'm Sharmila. I work as an associate director with Open Financial Technologies. So basically, Open, I don't know how many of you all know, is one of the first neo-banking platforms in India, and it's one of the Asia's largest, no-code embedded platform for banking. And we became the 100th unicorn in May, sometime this year. And I think the most interesting part about this role is, this is my first time in a startup with an Indian startup. So the first few weeks, I was the first one to join the team, and the first few weeks I spent on documenting, and I was super surprised because after 2 decades sitting and documenting, I was like, really? How come there's no documentation, right? We all don't understand the importance of documentation, but I think as a new joinee in any company, whatever role you join, I think it's very important that you have some basic documentation about the product of the company and various other roles as well. I mean, when I say roles, about processes. So anybody, whatever role, whether you're a junior or a new joinee or whatever level you are in, I think that is key, which I think most of the engineers wouldn't agree with when it comes to documentation. But I think that was something that I started off with interesting. I mean, that's interesting. The other part is, in startups, the way the teams work, they kind of work independently. I think it's more important to go ahead and tie yourselves together with your business team, your engineering teams, your customer support teams as well. They function very independently, but I think it's also important that you understand that you need to tie together so that you receive the end result.
Thank you, Sharmila. Piyush,
Thanks,
Gopal,
Vidhur.
the same question for you.
So my name is Gopal Sharma, and I am AVP Engineering in Junglee Games. Junglee Games is a leading real money gaming company in India, and I'm responsible for, or my profile is I take care DevOps, data ops, security, and incident management, means monitoring and all. Uh, Interesting things, in last presentation, I was seeing the scaling part. So it was recollecting the before IPL, actually we have performed the load test on Kubernetes, and the same set of scaling, monitoring, we were monitoring, and we were just trying to actually ensure that all projected scaling is required for IPL could be actually achieved. So those type of obviously activities we used to do it, and that attract us a lot. So means DevOps and SREs roles are basically to uh, actually perform the activity for business achievements. So those type of things is actually our role.
Thanks, Gopal. All right, so this question is for the entire panel. What role does data play at your organization in scaling technology deployments?
We very heavily use auto scaling, and a lot of times there could be promotional season, festival season, even otherwise in unknown scenarios. We do not know that the customers are going to run something. We are a B2B platform, so different customers run their businesses differently on that. And uh, the way the way the scaling of the deployments happen is primarily based on data. So the data that comes in from the systems itself feeds into the decisions of how the deployments will be scaling. Some of their configurations, setup, like even the basics of what will be your min replicas that you will run, what will be the size of each node. Some of those are a function of the base throughput that you will want each instance to be able to run, and so on. So everything that runs in there in terms of the scaling parameters is backed by the usage patterns across various customers, and the metrics and the data that we are getting out of it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do you have any insights on the same question?
Yeah, scaling. See, scaling is obviously in Junglee, what I can recollect, there is a predictable scaling and there is an unpredictable scaling. So I remember pandemic period that when the pandemic started, all were on a remote, and in gaming industry specifically, that boomed like anything, right? Our traffic increased up to 5x to 6x within 15 days. Handling that much traffic, that much scale in a silo is something like a nightmare for each and every engineers. And obviously, we cannot excuse if we don't have a data, if we don't have a tools actually available during that period, it wouldn't possible at all. We know actually that how we handle storage, how we handle the front end servers scaling during that period where actually we were not aware that how to handle it. We faced problem, but yes, we had a backend support from different tools which helped us for handling those situations, and we came out actually very uh, on a very better way, and that actually helped till today. That, and we understood very well that how much data is important for scaling. That pandemic actually told us and learned us. So that example was very phenomenal for as far as the scaling is concerned for gaming.
Thanks, Gopal. I'm sure the pandemic has taught all the organizations a lot
Yeah.
of things, and this was the key learnings for your organization. Sharmila, I have a question for you. As one of the Asia's first neo-banking platforms for SMEs, Open relies on technologies to give it a competitive edge. What role does observability play in your organization?
Yeah, so being in the banking domain, again, I think it's more essential that you're more flawless, all the more, right? And observability, again, from a technology perspective, actually helps us to be the best of breed service in here. So when we are talking about observability, what is it, right? It's basically monitoring the right metrics to ensure that you actually go ahead and capture the right KPIs via which you can go ahead and gauge how you want to enhance your application. For example, by the alerts and metrics that you receive from New Relic or any monitoring tool that you've been using, right? It helps you go ahead and analyze, the number of alerts that you receive or the data that you receive, saying, hey, probably this is where you need to enhance your systems better. In terms of maybe if you do as a permanent solution, maybe it actually tells you that the infrastructure needs to be upgraded. Or from an application perspective, probably you need to make changes in the code so that it gives better enhancement. So I think that way, unless you go ahead and, so there's lots of data. I think one of them spoke some time back, like Ganesh and somebody else mentioned. You should know what to analyze from the data so that you can make decisions and move forward with it. So that's about it.
Thanks. Piyush, I have a question for you. Many big brands such as Tata Group, ASICS, HP rely on Capillary technologies to enable them to run their loyalty programs. How do you ensure that your systems are able to cope up with the increased load that the customers face during the peak times?
Yeah. So see, the capacity planning that we do is very heavily backed by the data that we are seeing. So in a microservices architecture, multiple components of your system need to scale together to be able to handle any kind of spike increase in the workload. There are systems that basically will see linear scale growth. There are systems that will suddenly see spikes, burst spikes. So different kinds of needs. Some systems might need to be much larger in size at one level and grow much faster from there. So a lot of our capacity planning is based on the data, and that is something that we do well in advance of any of the peak seasons to be able to handle them. Coupled with that, things like being a multi-tenanted platform, there could be different tenants or customers who could be scaling at different points of time. So the ability to be able to define appropriate rate limits in the system, be able to review them, be able to identify newer parameters on which the rate limits need to be defined and so on, is something that helps us quite a bit to be able to handle these workloads. There are two more things that we do. One of the things is that we use APM-based alerting very heavily. So while each alert gets looked at and addressed, over a period of time, you are able to identify hotspots by looking at which areas are showing more alerts. And those are the areas that you can deep dive on, focus on, and do a deeper solve for. The other part that we do as a regular cadence is, so there are a lot of insights, dashboards that the developers use and the engineering teams use in their regular matrix review meetings that they run as a cadence. And in that, they use those dashboards to identify if there are changes in usage patterns, in the expected behavior of the systems, either in terms of error rates, response times, throughputs, and any anomalies in there becomes an action item for them. So all of these keep us prepared to handle the loads that could spike up or increase at any time for our customers. And just to add, you will see the traffic spike up big time as the festival season hits in India in the next month and a half. But if you go to Middle East, the peak seasons will be different.
Yeah.
In China, the peak seasons will be different. So globally, the peak seasons vary. And in a multi-tenanted system, it's very important for us to be ready for that all the time, because you can't set up and scale for peak load as they vary across regions for various customers.
Thanks. Looks like a lot of planning ahead of the game day. Gopal, I have a question for you. Can you share an example of how New Relic has helped Junglee Games with the launch of a new product?
Yeah, sure. So in Junglee Games, actually, recently we launched Poker. Poker, it is actually under brand of Poker Star. It's a very famous brand worldwide, global. And this product actually we launched within 2 months, right? So all preparation is starting from project planning and implement and coding, development, testing, load testing, and launching of that product within a 2 month time frame was really challenging. And this actually game we launched or we developed on our multi-gaming platform on Kubernetes, where we already running Houset, Solitaire Gold, and Carom Lyco products, which was working very well and very established one. And then after that, adding a poker, another game was really a very interesting things. Reason why, because 60 to 70% services we used as a unified services which is already running, and 30% services we build up, we created fresh services. So the integrations between all unified services and existing service and new services was bit challenging because we don't want to disturb our existing games, which is running very fine. So without any backend data support, especially on a New Relic, Prometheus, Grafana, there's so many actually things. It was 100% not possible because all developers and DevOps team was completely equipped with all these monitoring tools, with all backend data supports. That's why actually when we were deploying any of the new service, then we will able to check the impact analysis of that particular services and all associated services which is already exist. That is because of that we had a matrix in place. We had a complete insight in place. It can be a APM, it can be a browser, it can be a synthetic, it can be a logs. So all these things really helped, and it was so transparent that immediately developer used to get, yes, there is a problem, there is a latency in that particular code. That's why actually the associated authentication service is getting impacted. And if authentication will impact, then it will impact Houset, it will impact the other services as well. So that type of ecosystem can be possible if we have a proper data in place, proper backend data as a weapon support we have in place. So that was the superb example. That's the reason actually we completed this project on time, and it is so stable that after 1 month, we didn't do any build rollback actually based on the performance, and product is working fine. So superb example, if I can say.
Just a fun question for you. Which is your favorite game on the platform?
Before joining Junglee Games, obviously, I was not interested for all these games. But yes, now I play as a practice, but not for money purpose, 100%. But yes, I like poker. I really like poker actually because it's a game that it's a fun actually in this game. But and used to play sometimes.
Skills, a perfect combination of skills and luck.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question is for everyone in the panel. Can you talk about how important it is for you and your engineers to have the right data available to them at the right time to back their decisions?
Yeah, right data on a right time is 100% because otherwise, because see now all startup companies or all big companies requirement is so agile that if you don't have a right data at a right time, then in that case, first of all, you will be behind as far as the product is concerned, and you cannot do any innovations on that particular product. Third is actually you cannot solve the real-time problems. For that purpose, obviously, you require a backend support of data, which is a real-time, which is giving you insight on a real-time basis that if any problem is happening, then you should have a real-time exceptions in place. And if you have a real-time exception in place, then only actually your developers can find out the RCA and or root cause for that particular issues within a few hours. Otherwise, it will be a difficult and it will somewhere impact the stability of the product. So this is important if I will say.
What are your views, Sharmila and Piyush?
Yeah, so I think it's very essential to have right data at the right time, like what Gopal mentioned. Right? So any customer, what they expect is highly efficient product and cost effective. And I think the way you kind of keep your customers coming back to you, irrespective of the cost, is how proactively you kind of identify the issues and resolve it. Like I mentioned before, you could have lots of data, but the analysis of the data in the right format, in the right manner, and taking action at the right time, right? I think one of them mentioned how their alerts are integrated with Slack. But if you have like thousands of alerts integrated with Slack, you kind of really miss out on the important ones.
Yeah.
So the appropriate analysis and prioritization of what needs immediate attention right now, whereas what needs attention, probably you can just go have a coffee break and come back. I think that plays a very crucial role for an engineer's time and attention to go ahead and work on that and resolve that. So I think that is very crucial that you kind of have the right data. It's up to the engineers as to how do you analyze and prioritize, so you will act upon it accordingly.
You want to share?
I think so. For engineers, one thing is that they are almost all the time in some kind of decision making mode, and in terms of being able to make that decision, the more data that they have at hand, the less guesswork that they need to do, and as a result, the effort that the decision that they will make will help. Sorry, the data will help them make the decision by prioritizing things better, and the outcome will be more predictable. When you do the guesswork, the outcome sometimes may not really meet the expected value. So it's just far more efficient use of the engineer's mind and time to use the data to be able to do that, be it in terms of handling an alert or a problem right now, looking at a historical problem, or making a decision for something that they are looking to do in the future.
Sure. Yeah, got it. As a chief architect at Capillary Technology, Piyush, can you tell us about what you personally find most useful with New Relic?
So there are a few things, and I'll take a few minutes to explain this. See, we are in this microservices architecture where it's a mesh of services, not a mesh of services. What is really important in that is that when you are looking at it from an operational metrics perspective, from its operations perspective, the service maps are extremely helpful because you are able to see them in a network. You are able to analyze and figure out which other services from your dependencies are, whether they are meeting their SLAs, which one of them is causing an impact on the SLA of your service. In some ways, be able to hold other services accountable for their commitments in terms of what SLAs should they be adhering to. So that is something that is very important in a microservices architecture, to be able to deliver a committed SLA for a service, and to be able to see which of your downstream services or components, it could be a database, Redis, whichever component that you use, is not is causing the problem or not sticking to its commitments. The other thing that has been very helpful is that we push a lot of attributes into New Relic, which has helped us figure out the usage patterns by tenant. So we are able to slice them by tenants on the platform and be able to see those usage patterns. There have been a lot of times when we have been able to figure out that there are certain integrations for a particular customer which are either broken, the customers are not being able to identify them themselves, or they are not really done in an optimal way. Our customers are not getting the right value out of it, and we have been able to get that back to the business for them to take it to the customers to ensure that they fix them and derive full value out of the platform. The one other thing that we have been able to do is with the informational reports, with the live dashboards, we have been able to make that available to the business directly. So our sales and customer success team can take some of these reports and dashboards to the customers in case they have certain concerns around the performance, around the capabilities of the system, around how it is monitoring and looking at the system, the maturity around it. Our operations team is being able to use that to talk to our vendors in terms of how their systems are doing, because we slice by them and we figure out which of our third-party vendors, what kind of response times, etc., are we getting from them, what kind of error rates are we getting from them. The last one and the most important one I would say is that in some ways it had a cultural impact in Capillary. Uh, so there are a lot of times when there are certain issues that happen, and you go into history to basically try and figure out what caused it. The ability to be able to look at a sequence of events and nail down that these are the exact reasons why this problem happened helps you be a lot more objective about it, because if you don't have that, right, in a lot of times you tend to form opinions, fly a little blind, and start blaming people. Doesn't solve the problem comes back and recurs again. uh, some of this sequenced events, the data that you are being able to get, the attributes help you nail down the problem a lot better. Uh, and the root cause analysis culture really focuses on looking at the problem, identifying what's the real point at which the problem is happening, and what are the action items to take out of it. Internally, it sets a culture of looking at the problem, identifying the actions and handling them, and not really about people. It is really helpful to your customers because they are able to get very detailed, accurate root cause analysis of why did a problem happen, and they would normally not see a repeat of that because you have been able to handle that very well. So New Relic in this journey has been extremely helpful for us to navigate through a lot of these things overall.
Thank you so much, Piyush. I'm glad that we were able to make an impact and work with you on this journey. Uh, Question for you, Sharmila. I understand that you're moving away from having multiple monitoring tools to a single source of truth. What impact will this have on your technology development life cycles?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I think different teams kind of when they, especially in startup, right? Each team kind of picks up its own tool for its own benefits. But I think coming together over a period of time, you kind of mature and you ensure that you have a single monitoring tool so everybody kind of looks into the same thing simultaneously and there's one single view that everybody can access, right? On those terms, I think New Relic definitely has been a great benefit for us. We used it for one of our products in the past few months and we figured out that the alerting mechanism, metrics, and graphs have helped us to analyze and diagnose issues much quickly. And also, like I mentioned, we kind of go ahead and make decisions on, when do we go ahead and do deployments. Definitely because it's a fintech, we do it on weekends, but there are times we also need to do it on weekdays depending on some issues that we run into. So the traffic analysis kind of helps us to figure out when these things can be done, right? Continuing on the same thing, it also helps us to get the metrics in different formats that we want to have. It's highly customizable. So for example, the management would want to look at only the availability and uptime metrics. Whereas from an engineer's perspective, they want to get into the nitty-gritty details of what went wrong, whether it's at which part of the application went wrong, and from an infrastructure perspective as well, right? Is it with the CPU usage or the disk space or which part of it from the application perspective has gone wrong? So I think depending on the kind of teams or the audience that uses the tool, the New Relic tool, it's customizable and you can tweak it the way you want it depending on what you want to see. So I think that kind of explains it.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Question for you, Gopal. What impact has New Relic had on your engineering team at Junglee Games?
Yeah, so in in Junglee games, and I will tell, it's a very common. So 5 to 6 years ago, developers used to think that their job is only for writing a code. Rest everything has to be taken care by infrastructure and DevOps guys.
Yeah.
So that's the change, right? So because during that time, developers doesn't have that much backend data support and tools like New Relic, which was created their life so interesting and so easy to understand that beyond code is also there is a life. Beyond code is also there is a platform and there is a integrations and there is a latency type of things where actually they can actually think and they can give their efforts to the business and to the entire products. So this is the change happened when I joined Junglee Games 5 years ago. It was very small startup. There was around 30 to 35 employees in the organizations, and that time the situation was same, right? We created a DevOps team, and then developers used to create a code, and then after that everything is, boss, this is not my duty. Rest everything you have to take care, because we don't know that what to do now after that. So, because I remember in Rummy, actually, we used to organize a tournament. So we organized a tournament of only 2,000 players, and which badly crashed. And everyone was blaming to each other, because developer was saying my code was fine, and DevOps was saying that my infra was fine. Then, but what business need to do? Ultimately, business is getting suffered. But now, when we created a culture where actually we given a training about all tools and products, and tell them that, yes, this is your code, and if you are writing this code is impacting to the product on this level. Because of this code, latency is like this, and these are the distributed tracing, these are the all services actually are interacting with each other. It really creates interest in developers, and they actually like to see that what I am writing is impacting to the product. So this way, actually, we actually educated the entire developers team. Now, developers themselves are a good SREs. Developer themselves, in current situation in Junglee games, all developers are very much equipped as far as the new Relic is concerned, Prometheus is concerned. Whenever they write any code, they themselves actually check that what is the latency of that code after the integration with the existing code. So if they found that there is a problem, they themselves solve it. They never come to DevOps, they never come to monitoring team for that. Everything is taken care by them, and DevOps is doing some more productive activities. This has happened because of these tools has come, these datas are available. So there is no fault of anyone. This is the problem is that how much insight you can give to the developers or other other departments. Same way, even business also. For gaming company, latency is most important as far as on a end user side. Browser and mobile app was so important as far as the metrics is concerned on New Relic, that we used to display all dashboard on TV, an RQL display, where actually we can show that this particular zone, users are getting 2-second latency. This particular zone, users are getting 3-second latency of this particular game. That customer support team used to display, product team used to display, because they are more interested on an end user latency of the product. Because based on that, they can decide that how the rake or revenue growth is going on. So all these relations with dashboard is actually nowadays is possible because we have a so easy dashboard which actually anyone can prepare. So my product team used to prepare those dashboard nowadays with their own sense of, because they know better than us about the business and dashboards, that what type of analytics they require. So they create their own dashboards, they display on a TV, and they just monitor actually every day, morning, afternoon, and evening, and check that the comparison between the latency, traffic growth with the revenue growth. So that way actually, not even engineering, it's a non-engineering also. All these data tool, I'm not saying the new Relic, whatever dashboard is available nowadays, whatever tools are available nowadays, if we are using in a very better way, then it is very meaningful.
Thanks, Gopal. What's wonderful to hear is at least the teams have stopped pinpointing each other.
That's the important.
You've built a culture of collaboration. I heard some really good feedback about having dashboards now, which is definitely helping the organization. Again, a quick question, where have you placed this LED?
LED is everywhere. We have around, see, there is a one floor and more than 300 employees sits there. And we have around 6 to 7 LEDs. And one is in a customer support area, one is a product area. Even CEO is also, CEO sits in US, but he used to come in India and he used to see. And he also actually, he doesn't go to anywhere to ask about that, what is the health of product, right? He is not calling to DevOps or he's not calling to anyone. He just see on a dashboard, yes, end user. He's not aware about, or he's not interested on a server side, right? But he's more interested about the end user side. So if he used to get, ki boss, it is getting increase, then sometime he also play a role of monitoring team guys. Boss, something is happening. So CEO also do like this. So it's very interesting, yeah. So that's why interest gets created, then everyone used to involve in it. Yeah, this is something good that everyone should learn it. So 100% because we are using New Relic, so obviously New Relic played this role very phenomenal for this.
All right, thank you so much. Uh, Last but not the least, what advice would you all like to give to teams who are looking to build a data-driven engineering culture?
Okay, I think like I've been mentioning about monitoring and doing the right analysis, a proactive monitoring is very, very essential, be it in any field, right? So that's the only reason customers keep coming back to you, whereas they don't come and say, yes, I have a problem, can you fix it? You identify the problem upfront and then you fix it for them. Probably if they already find it, at least they're aware that something is broken and you're already working, right? I think this we all would agree if you're using any application for that matter. If you're trying to access it and if it says, yes, we are already down, we are okay with it, unless you have a problem when you're accessing it and it's failing, you're more annoyed. So at least you create less annoyance and, that way the customer will still come back to you. At least they're aware that, hey, the product or the application that they're using, they're already identified and they're working on the fix. And again, I think it's also essential that while you're fixing, while you're working on a permanent fix for it, probably you actually find a quick workaround as such. So I think that way, you can do that only if you have enabled proper observability, which again falls into the monitoring perspective, right? So I think that plays a very, very key role. And I think that again falls how the engineering and product teams work together to enhance your application or product. So that's my piece.
Anything that you want to add, Piyush and Kumar?
I'll add this bit that extending to what Gopal said earlier. When you're building a data driven engineering culture, you will collect a lot of data. Don't keep that data in silos. Build dashboards, views, and democratize those dashboards. It helps bring transparency across and breaks down a lot of barriers, assumptions across departments as well. Like you were saying, your customer success team, your support team, your sales team, your CEO, anybody could be looking at those dashboards and they will derive what information do they want to derive out of it. It really helps break barriers and encourage like very good conversations in there. The other thing that this would generally try and do is that for the engineering team, it will start giving you a lot of outside in perspective of things that generally engineers are missing because we are looking at things more inside out when we are building. So that's another aspect that it will help with. Whenever you get onto this journey, keeping a slightly far ahead view in mind is something that is very helpful because that helps with the choices that we make along the way. It will be a journey, so everybody will start small and grow along the journey. But keeping a little far out state always helps with the choices that you will make on the journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This brings us to the conclusion of our panel discussion today. Guys, please thank me in saying thank you to Piyush, Sharmila, and Gopal. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights.